Discipline got me freedom, it got me wealth. I'm about to tell you the journey I took to get there. So listen carefully. Hello and welcome to the video. So you can see in the caption, I mentioned discipline. And discipline played a big part in my life, where I am today. But it took a journey to get where I am today. It was hard. And I'm about to tell you how this all started. So you're talking about a good 9 years ago. I was 21 and I'm 30 right now. At 21 years old, I applied for the army. And during that time, I went through something really hard, something that I could not imagine, something that I didn't believe, and I had cancer. Now, during that time when I applied, they told me I had to wait 5 years because I had cancer. So I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do for this next 5 years? You know, because I knew I wanted the army. So I'm sitting there thinking, right, I've got to make a hard decision. Do I stick it out or do I do something else? And there was no plan B. Plan A was join the army. But there was another problem as well ahead. I was not a runner. I hated running. I was always into circuit training. I was always into the gym, boxing, swimming. And I was fit in those areas, but I was not fit in the running area. And you know, the army told me, you've got to start running because that is what's required of you. So I thought, okay, I've got some time on my hands. I've got 5 years to prepare for the army. And what did I do? I started running. I remember on the first day I started running, I could barely get a kilometer because I had shin splints, my lower back was hurting. And I thought, right, this is going to take some time. This is going to be hard. But also I was thinking to myself, you know, how badly do you want this? So during that time, I was just preparing. I was getting up every day in the morning, sometimes in the evening, doing my runs. And I could see the progress and it was slowly coming. But the important thing I was doing, I was staying disciplined because I just did what was required of me. I kept on running, I did not stop. And eventually I got better and I'm still running today. You know, I got faster, I could run longer distances, and I was very happy with myself. 5 years went by, I reapplied again, and another test came about. I had to do a theory test, and when it comes to exams, I am not so good at it. And I think it's to do with the pressure, sitting there, and I remember doing this test, and my mind went blank. But that was the hardest thing I did in my life because every day I was revising for this particular test. There was 4 sections. And I remember people around me was helping me, you know, coming around and making sure I was studying or just helping me. And I just want to say thank you very much for those people that helped me with that journey and just being there when I needed you, because I couldn't have done it without you. So I just want to say thank you very much. And you know who you are. You was with me, you helped me study, and I passed that test. So I just want to say thank you very much. And that was the hardest thing. Fitness wasn't a problem. Anything to do with writing or exams, that is the hardest thing and the hardest test I had to do and overcome it. Because I wanted it so bad, I knew that this was going to be a journey. This was something that was going to be tough and hard, but you just have to push through it. So anyone that is out there that is overcoming obstacles, you just got to be very repetitive and just keep going and going. And there was times that, my God, is this going to happen? You know, am I going to have my wish, my dream, you know, to become a soldier? So I passed my theory test. I then moved on to the next stage. That was, you know, another difficult test. When I went on to the next stage, they told me I've got to wait another 2 years. COVID came about. So the system was all over the place. And when I mean 2 years, it took another 2 years to get to the next process. And I was, frustrated, I was prepared, and I was ready to do the next test. So I waited another 2 years to come about, and those 2 years finally happened. And came with more complications, to do with health and safety, my health, because I had a serious illness. And then, at this point, I'm getting very, very frustrated. I'm crying, I'm breaking down, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm getting older. Is this going to happen? Is this a dream of mine? Is it ever going to come about? And, one day it did. I remember going down to the army camp, and it was the third time actually. So 3 times I went back and forth, doing the physical tests. The first time I failed because of my health. The second time again was to do with my health. So I had to, call up doctors, write me letters to say I'm fit, I'm healthy, I can, proceed and, move on and have a career in the army. Third time came, and finally it is the answer I was waiting for. 7 years it took me to get past this little hurdle, and eventually we got there. So the 8th year came about because after that hurdle to do with my health, fitness and the tests, I had to wait another year, and I don't know why, it just took longer than I thought. So the 8th year came about. I had to do another physical test. I was 3 days down in Plymouth, I believe it was called. Catterick. And I met some new people. I'm looking around as well, thinking wow, I can't believe I'm finally here. This is the moment I've been waiting for. So I'm there. I'm getting a feel what to expect. The journey, how much I can grow in the army. And bear in mind, I'm 29 now. I applied at 21. I'm 29 years old. And there's a lot of things here going through my head. And during that time, 7, 8 years, 9, I, went from job to job, learning new things, new skills, traveling, meeting new people. And I learned something on the way, new skills. I'm going backwards a little bit. So I quit my job because my test was coming up. And another reason why I quit my job, I was thinking to myself, there must be a better way to earn money, because we're living in a world now, we're working more hours with very little money. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to earn more money with very little hours. I remember going on my laptop, I was doing research to find out how can I earn money with freedom, doing what I want, no bosses, can wake up when I want, go wherever I want, all around the world. So I did, I found something. I found how to trade. I found how to, build a personal brand. I learnt about, YouTube. I learnt about dropshipping. And I was looking for my niche, looking at, all these, topics, these options. What was for me? And trading was for me. And, I met this beautiful girl and I told her about it. And I remember telling her, I want you to quit your job because we need to put 110% in this. And during that time, I'm about to go to Catterick and do my test as well. She had some time to think about it. And I remember leaving, finding these things and, go do my test in Catterick. So I did. And like I said before, I'm looking around, meeting new people, thinking to myself, is this a career now? What I want? Everything that I've put into this, is here right now, on this day. Do I want this? And how badly do I want this? So I'm thinking of my dad as well, because he's the one that's inspired me to join the army. And for those of you who don't know him, his name is Des Powell. He's been in the Special Forces. He's brought out 2 books. He's done podcasts, TV, and he's doing a lot more other things. Now, if you want to find out more about him, go and check him out on Instagram, Des Powell. If you want to know about his books, go on Amazon, type in Bravo 30, and there's more. So going back to me, I'm there now at the camp, 3 days. 1 day's going by, 2 days are going by. I'm looking at all these things, and the instructors, I looked at them only because they're 30 years old. They applied when they were 21, and I'm looking at all these kids now, and I'm calling them kids because they're between 18 to 21, and I'm now 28 going on 29. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm looking at them, the way they act, the way, they're acting all big and hard, and think, yeah, I can do this, bring it on. And that attitude I had when I was 21, 20, I think we all had it. You've been in the gym, I want to lift the heaviest weight, I want to be a center of attention. We all had that attitude at 18, 19, 20. Now I'm thinking, I'm 28, 29, I've learned a lot of things, during my life, during those years, preparing for the army. And I'm thinking to myself, do I accept, by the way, I had the interview and they already accepted me. As soon as I had the interview, I'm thinking to myself, do I want to take on this journey now? Do I want to move on with my life? Everything I've been preparing for, everything I've worked so hard for, do I want this? And I'm really questioning myself. And for me, if you are out there questioning to start this journey, whatever you want, it means you don't want it enough. And it got to that point with me that I wanted something different. And I'm about to go home and tell my dad, who's been supporting me for 7, 8 years, 9, saying to him, I'm about to take a different journey, a different path. Now I was on that path, heading towards the army, and I'm about to choose a different path. But I knew once I start this new path, go on this new path, this new journey, I'm gonna have to give it 100%. Because it's a new thing for me, going from preparing, for the army, what I've been doing for years and years, which is basically running as hard as I can, getting as fast as I can, as fit as I can, because that is what is required of you, And going on this now journey was another type of test, another type of challenge. So I remember going back, and I remember seeing my dad. He was all happy for me, and I'm about to tell him, Dad, I'm thinking of not joining. And he knew what I found. I was telling him about what I found, and surprisingly, he supported me on this. And he just said to me, just think long and hard, what it is that you want. And I said to him, this is what I want. I want freedom. I want to travel the world. I want to be my own boss. I don't want anyone telling me now what I want to do. And remember this, guys, the person that I was at 21 years old is not the same person anymore than I am today. I've learned new things. I've grown up, and I've accepted that very quickly just because I'm prepared to start this new journey, go on this new path, with my girl that I was telling you, that I told her to quit her job so we can start this journey together, a road of freedom, a road of, life that is, beyond our reach, limitless, do anything that you want. But I knew I'm gonna have to put some work into this. So I took that risk. And leading with discipline, what I'm about to tell you is knowing that you're not going to have days where you're motivated. There's going to be days where what you choose, what path you take, you've got to be 100% sure. Whatever you decide, give it 100%. And there'll be days, you don't want to do it. There's been days like me, I didn't want to do it during the time, leading up to the army. There's days that even now. What you're not changing, you're choosing. Just think about that for 1 or 2 seconds. What you're not changing, you're choosing. Change had to happen with me. Decisions had to happen with me. Once I started this journey, this new path, there is no going back, but only forward. So think about the journey you're on right now. Going forward, it's the only way. And when it starts to get hard and tough, and you're questioning yourself, you're not even motivated, remember why you started that journey. You want change, you want different, you want something better in your life. And you're gonna go out there and do everything that is possible and required of you to get where you want to be. And you won't stop at anything until you're there. But I promise you this, guys, once you start, and if you keep going, you'll get where you want to be. And don't compare someone else's life to yours at different timings. Let's just say, you know, someone's way ahead of you, you know, everyone's on a different path, different journey, different timings, you know. So think about your own self, your own journey, and your own time, okay? Because time is your friend, time is your ally. It takes time, so trust the process. Think about 6 months, think about a year, how much you can do, how much you can change. But remember, change only happens when you start today, start making changes. You know, progression, failures, you know, that's the path. And that's the path that I was thinking of. You know, I knew when I started this journey, there's going to be days that I'm not motivated, days that, you know, I didn't want to do anything. But you know what I learned in my life over those years when I was running was discipline. Because I knew discipline will overcome everything to where got me today. So just think about that. And I remember the change I made. I knew I had to leave my hometown. I need to leave the country because I needed to figure out what was out there, out in this world. Because I knew that was the only way I knew or thought of that change was going to happen. So I made that decision. I told my girl, we are leaving the UK. We're going to see what is out there in that world. We are going to try and grow, and we're going to fail together, and we're going to, you know, do this journey, take on this journey together. So we did. We left the UK. And I remember landing in Bali. We didn't say it to each other, but we looked at each other and we looked around thinking, did we make a mistake? And those are the type of thoughts you're going to be thinking of, guys. You know, when you leave your hometown or leave your country or starting this new journey, whatever it is, you're going to be questioning yourself, thinking, did I make the right decision? And these decisions will help you grow in life. I was walking around Bali and time went on. I started growing and I realized it was the best decision I made. I found more wealth, more time. I was more healthy. I felt more disciplined than ever. And I learned a lot more about myself. And as time went on, I started growing, things started happening, and everything started working out. But don't get me wrong, there was ups and downs. Not everything is going to be perfect along this journey. You know, you just got to make sure you stay disciplined on the way. Don't get distracted. You know, distractions, you know, your life, you know, can, you know, take you off course. There could be times as well that you have no idea what you're doing or how you're going to get there. But once you start, you eventually just figure things out. And it did for me. You know, I started figuring things out that I didn't even think was possible, but it just comes about. And you just got to keep going. Everything that I learned in my life came from that hard time when I first applied for the army, the illness, the preparation, the time, you know, it took to get there. That's the biggest thing that helped me through my life to get me where today, was that discipline to keep going. Those are lessons. Embrace it, learn from these failures. You know, when you're feeling scared, you know, that's a sign that you should keep going. There's no courage without fear. Fear is good. That's how you're going to grow. That's how you're going to move forward. Once you fail, you get back up and you do it again, and you keep going until you succeed. And do not let anyone tell you that you cannot do it. Only you can tell you that you can do it. So you just keep going and you just barrel through it. And once you get on the other side, you'll look back and laugh about this. And there's many times in my life that I looked back at myself and I laughed about it, thinking, will I ever get past this hurdle? Will I ever reach where I want to be? And I'm still going to this day, you know. Everything is endless, you know. You can grow so much, you can figure things out, you can learn a lot about yourself. This is my story. I'm telling you this because I want you to get motivated. If you're ever going through something in your life, use that energy to keep going, you know. Think about why you started. think about why you started this journey. And every bit of pain that you've gone through in your life, use it. Fuel yourself to keep going and battle through it, because on the other side could be something greater. And you could get to that point right now in your life thinking that you just want to give up. But what if you were just almost there, like on the edge, where you've worked so hard to get where you want to be, but then suddenly you give it all up? If you ever get to that point, keep going, because I promise you, you're closer than you think. If you reached the end of this video, I just want to say thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more. I've got a lot more to share with you.